Good evening, everybody. This is your boy Bill Mahari here, represent MehariNation Sports Podcast. Welcome to episode 17 of Basketball Conversations. Salute the entire LDBC and the basketball community. I see Mr. Tiptoe coming in here. He always holding it down, showing major love here on the channel. Much love to you, man. He says smash that like button on the way in. Absolutely, though, man. Y'all go ahead and smash that like button. You know what I'm saying? Um, First off, happy Valentine's Day to all the lovely couples all around the country and around the world. If you guys celebrate Valentine's Day, make sure you treat your wife or your husband, with love, kindness, and respect that they deserve. You know, understand? And I already gave out my presents to all my family members and stuff like that. So that's basically done out the way though too. So much love all you guys. So we are now completed the first half of the NBA season. We're going to have a little bit of a season recap about what has happened in the first half of the year. You understand what I'm saying? We had a lot of stuff that went down, a lot of highs, a lot of lows, though, too. So we're going to go into that. We're going to also get into the Kobe backlash. Kobe backlash has been going on the last few couple of weeks in the response to the Gail King interview with Lisa Leslie 2 weeks ago. And also, I want to touch upon the great article that former NBA player Eddie Curry wrote on the Players Tribune. If y'all have not seen that, go ahead and check that out. We're also going to discuss about the NCAA basketball. We're about a month away from March Madness, though, too, guys. So I'm going to give some of my opinions about some of the teams that could make a deep run to Atlanta, Georgia, for the Final Four and possibly go for the national championship. And then finally, to run it all off, we're going to discuss about the finalists for the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame and some of the guys that have already been left off the list. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah, Mr. Tiptoe says, salute my guy. Much love to you, Mr. Tiptoe. You always holding that down, as always. Much love to you, my man. So, I wanted to get into the first half of the season. There's been a lot of highs, a lot of lows that have been happening this year. Obviously, we've lost, two significant people, in our NBA community. Obviously, the commissioner of the NBA, David Stern, to brain hemorrhage. You understand, and then also the tragic death of Kobe Bryant that really shook the NBA to its core. RIP to those two people and also to the people that tragically lost their lives in the helicopter crash. You know, the hearts and prayers go out to all the families that lost their lives in that tragic accident. So make sure we establish that. But I wanted to guys talk about some of the things that really surprised me a lot this year. And one of the big surprises that I thought coming out of this year though too was how the Milwaukee Bucks have kind of just put their reassembled their team after losing Malcolm Brogdon and then re-signing Chris Middleton. Now, I will give Chris Middleton a lot of credit. I really think that Chris Middleton has really elevated this game uh, throughout the month of January. You know what I mean? And I think that right now, Chris Middleton is showing that now he's now the second guy and with Giannis to be that help possible 1-2 punch to really put pressure off of Giannis, in any moment in the games. Now, my issue going to be for the Milwaukee Bucks is can they keep this up, but also can the role players, step up and make critical plays. Now, I'm more worried about the point guard position because, Eric Bledsoe is very inconsistent. There are times where Eric Bledsoe can show a bit of brilliance, and then there are many times he sometimes disappears and, is missing in action. And I feel that George Hill is perhaps a better point guard that fits it in the lineup better than what Eric Bledsoe does. And I think that, if Chris Paul were with the Milwaukee Bucks right now, I guarantee you one thing. I think that the Chris Paul would make this team into a championship contender. He would make this team much better because he's basically a guy that can set up plays and really orchestrate the offense a lot better. Now, for all the people that have said that Chris Paul is basically shot, he's done, well, he's gone back to the All-Star game once again, basically sticking it to all of his critics. You know, he's kind of like he has this pit bull mentality where he loves being the underdog and loves to sticking it to you. You understand what I'm saying? Oh my goodness, the OG is in the building. Ticket TV, my brother. Hold on. Let me make sure to get this man a wrench. There you go. Ticket TV, the OG, the man that is uncut with his basketball talk. You understand? You understand what I'm saying? Much love to you. He's my big brother. He's the guy that I lean to for a lot of the basketball knowledge, though, too. He's raw uncut as it gets. Now, I listen. Chris Paul would make this Milwaukee Bucks team a hell of a lot better. You understand? And the fact that this guy is once again an all-star again for the Oklahoma City Thunder is really a testament to how great of a point guard he is. Now, you take away all the negativity about him when he was with the Clippers and when he was with the Hornets, okay? This guy has been consistently one of the best point guards of his generation. All right? Oh, he said that's not ticking? Wait. Let me check real quick. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And of course, it is Ticket. That's Ticket TV, my brother. Yes, it is. There you go. Okay, Mark Wonderland. Don't scare me like that, though, bro. But But I digress. I digress. Now, here's the point about this, though, man. Here's about this. Okay, if the Milwaukee Bucks can continue to get good production from Matthews, from Chris Middleton, okay, and get some good production out of the Lopez brothers, I'll tell you right now. I'm gonna tell you this right now. The Milwaukee Bucks are going for the championship. All right. Now listen, I gave the Toronto Raptors a lot of credit to what they done in their winning state. They went on a brilliant 15-game winning streak, with Pascal Siakam, leading the way, of course. But listen, they're not going to win a championship because listen, they're you can't replace a Kawhi Leonard. It's not possible. It's not possible. Okay. The thing is this: the Toronto Raptors, they're going to be in the mix, but I just put it like this. I'll put it like this. The Toronto Raptors right now, they've really done a good job, of proving a lot of their critics wrong of what their team was last year. But make no mistake about it, they're not going to win a championship. They don't have, listen, with due respect to Pascal Siakam, they should have pulled the trigger and traded Pascal Siakam for Paul George. You could have had both Paul George and Kawhi Leonard together in Toronto. Can you imagine the kind of damage they could do right now with the Raptors team? It's scary. But, they didn't pull the trigger, and as a result, you lost Kawhi Leonard in the process, and they're basically tearing things up with the Clippers. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the bottom line is this. That's to finish my point. The Milwaukee Bucks right now, it's their championship to lose, barring what happens in the West. Okay. The Milwaukee Bucks are basically, basically a few pieces away from getting to where they want to be, which is a championship. And considering that Giannis is going to be a free agent at the end of the year, if the Bucks win the championship, Giannis stays. He's not going to Golden State because remember, they've already pulled the trigger on the trade for Andrew Wiggins. Okay. There's no way that they're going to find a way to fill the salary cap to get Giannis. Would be too much because remember, the Timberwolves paid $147 million to a guy that never really deserved it. Now, I'll give Andrew Wiggins a lot of credit. The guy been averaging 20 points per game throughout his whole career. But I've seen too many times in the Target Center watching Andrew Wiggins play where he can be just so lackadaisical that sometimes that motor turns on and off. It's not always consistent. And every single time I'm like, dude, why are you not putting the effort on the defensive end to be a better player than what you basically are showing? And many times it draws me insane, like why I didn't trust Andrew Wiggins. And when Jimmy Butler called him out on the BS, okay, it basically diminished his reputation as a player that I kind of expected coming in. All right, and so at the end of the day, I think that right now the Milwaukee Bucks it's their competition. It's their championship to win or lose. All right. The Philadelphia 76ers, they're just a mess right now. I mean, it's just for some reason that team could just never find a way to put things together. And as a result, they're not going to win the championship and they're not going to they're going to make it to the second round and they'll lose. And then what are you going to do? You're just going to have to find a way to either break up the team, get rid of Ben Simmons, or trade for another playmaker who can spread the floor to help Joel Embiid work in the paint, or basically find another shooter in your lineup, because Ben Simmons is just he's not willing to shoot the ball, and that is what it is. Now, I wanted to talk about the Los Angeles Clippers though too while we're at it, but let me just go ahead and check the chat real quick. Yep, it's okay, Mark Wonderland. It's not a big deal. Yeah, I checked. It was Ticket TV. There's only one Ticket TV here on YouTube. All right. You're good, man. Adrian Barnani said just subscribe. Well, welcome to the channel, though, too, my man. Welcome to the channel. Hey, William School Arnett, what's going on, my brother? What's going on? He said, what's good, Abil? How about those Pelicans? I'll tell you what, though. You're basically are now blessed with two young studs on your team right now with the New Orleans Pelicans. You got Brandon Ingram, who's now an all-star this year, and then you also got a future all-star and possibly generational talent in Zion Williamson on your team. I mean, you gotta put it this way: the future's looking bright for your New Orleans Pelicans. But I still say you got to get rid of Lonzo Ball because he's not going to be your guy. I mean, the guy is a bust. It is what it is. So the thing is this. I think that one of the another big major surprises for me, Joe, too, is Zion Williamson coming back quickly than I kind of expected. Now, I'll tell you this though, too. People were kind of skeptical about how Zion Williamson will be able to adjust in the NBA. And I tell people this all the time. When you have that kind of body and that kind of hops and athleticism, you know what I'm saying, to combine with that skill, you're going to do just fine. And he is not, and basically, Zion Williamson hasn't proved me wrong one bit. Now, it'll be interesting to see how they will basically link up pieces together to try to build the talents around Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson. Now, I think that Zion Williamson can work well off the ball there too, because I think that Brandon Ingram, he needs the ball to basically work in several spots on the floor for him to operate. See, the problem, what I've noticed a lot of times is that, Zion Williamson, can basically dominate games by not scoring a lot because he can basically rebound, he can finish in the paint, and he can lead the fast break. He's basically a multi-dimensional player. And I think that by the time he gets his jump shot together, it's going to be over. Now, I can't wait for all the matchups between LeBron James, Zion Williamson, with Giannis, Kevin Durant. I mean, and also Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Those are going to be just legendary dynamite matchups. I'm telling you. It's going to be crazy when that happens. You understand? Mr. Tito says, Adrian Barty, thanks for the subscription. Welcome to the MehariNation Sports Podcast. Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Tito. He always, holding it down, always showing love on this channel. Always. Now, I also wanted to, touch upon a little bit about the recent struggles of the LA Clippers. Now, I watched some of the double overtime classic against the Boston Celtics. It was a great game. Great game down to the finish. I mean, sometimes I always feel like the LA Clippers, sometimes they play up to their capabilities when it comes against elite teams. But then there are times like against the Timberwolves, like they were just sometimes they kind of put their foot off the gas pedal and basically get blown out of the building. And that kind of sometimes concerns me just a little bit about the LA Clippers. Now, I'm not concerned too much because they're basically trying to coast this year, not worry too much about regular season victories because, listen, they're going to be a top 3 team in the Western Conference. It's going to be a given thing. Now, can they avoid a losing streak? Absolutely. They're going to be just fine. The one thing that's going to be a concern is that when they basically get their team together and get their base guys basically all healthy and ready to go, how long will it be where they basically turn the engine on and basically go right full throttle against a lot of the teams in the West? That's going to be the one thing that I'm going to be interested to see. And the bench right now is so improved right now. And I think that, to me, a lot of guys are going to be basically selfless because they understand the long-term goal is to win an NBA championship. And I really have been having a hard time with the Los Angeles Lakers because as good as they are basically a flawed team. Because listen, you've already reduced minutes for Kyle Kuzma, who's supposed to be averaging at least 18 to 20 points per game. You put Rondo on the bench, and anytime when he's on the floor, you're making him shoot perimeter jump shots. That's not really his strength. Rondo's strength is to basically be a penetrator and be basically the floor general. And you're basically taking him out of that role, and letting LeBron James walk the ball up the court and being the point guard. I'm telling you, it's not going to work in the long run. LeBron James, as great a player as he is, he needs to be a guy to work off the ball and basically get touches in the paint. That's where he's most effective, working at the middle of the floor and attacking you with a full head of steam. Now, we do understand that LeBron's getting a little bit older, and sometimes he can't do it consistently, and that's why you see him throwing up a lot of threes, on basically almost every single night. But I don't understand why LeBron always takes up threes. But what I'm basically leading to the point is that the Clippers bench rotation is way better than the Lakers bench rotation because the Clippers can throw more guys at them with basically, with 3-point shooting, defense, rebounding. Now the Lakers have rebounding and sometimes defense, but they don't have basically the point production off the bench. Okay, and when it comes down to it, there's going to be two things you have to be aware that the Clippers and the Lakers meet each other in the playoffs. It's going to be defense, rebounding, and bench play. The three major things you have to look for if the two teams meet in the playoffs. Because right now, the Clippers have three of those things. The Lakers have two of them. Okay? But trust me when I tell you, when it comes down to it, the Clippers don't fear the Lakers in the postseason. I'm telling you right now, off the rip. Okay? The Clippers do not fear the Lakers. Okay? They don't, because they know that the Clippers are much more of a mentally tougher team, and they're much more of a sound defensive team than the Lakers are. All right? And when you don't know how to use Kyle Kuzma's strengths to a science, you're basically exposing yourself to what you are. And I'm telling you, the Lakers are still the best team in the West right now. But if they don't play to their capability, they're gonna lose. They're gonna lose in the conference finals or the second round. All right. Now let's go ahead and check the chat real quick. Winter School Arnett says Brandon Ingram is looking like beast mode. Absolutely. Agree with that. Mr. Suto says hashtag facts. Winter School Arnett also said if LeBron doesn't start playing defense, they aren't winning shit in the playoffs. Agreed. Cannot argue with that. Okay. Again, the Lakers need to play at a championship level defense that's going to be required to beat the Clippers. And right now, listen, as good as they are regular season wise, like we always say, the regular season doesn't mean anything. It only matters what you do in the postseason. And keep this in mind, the Toronto Raptors also had a decent record in the regular season. What did they do? They kicked it into high gear in the playoffs, and it went on to win the championship. And also make sure to smash the like button too, guys. A little side note. Now, let's remember one thing. If the Lakers don't improve their defense and their rebounding, they're going to lose. Bet on it. Now, another topic I also want to relate to there too that ties into the Clippers and Lakers subject is the media double standards when it comes to LeBron James and Kawhi Leonard. Okay? Now, LeBron James picked Kawhi Leonard to play on his All-Star team. Why does LeBron James do that? Because listen, he's trying to keep Kawhi Leonard close by to try to make sure to get in his head a little bit, or to try to make sure he don't want to face him again. Because Kawhi Leonard knows, like, shoot, like this guy really does fear me. Like, I got this in the bag. But you know how the media always tries to play those kind of subtle games with a lot of these players to try to play favoritism with LeBron James. This is one of the reasons why you'll never ever see a lot of the stars play with LeBron James, because it's not about LeBron himself. It's not about the LeBron personally. It's more about these media guys like the Nick Wrights, the Shannon Sharps, the Chris Broussards, the Max Kelvin, and Stephen A. Smith that basically praise and kiss LeBron James behind every single day, which makes it very, very difficult to play with LeBron James because LeBron James gets all of the credit and gets little of the blame, while the other players get little credit and get the majority of the blame. And it's basically a toxic environment to play around. And then basically LeBron James does a lot of political stuff behind the scenes with management, basically trying to trade you out and things of that sort. Why do you think that he put Kyle Kuzma's name out in the trade rumors? Because remember, it kind of reflects back on two things. One, last season when Kyle Kuzma called out LeBron James for not playing defense. Number two, basically the other speculation is that Kyle Kuzma did not want to sign with Clutch Sports with Rich Paul. Basically, the barriers were broken when that happened, and then after that, the trade rumors were on. So I wonder how many times we're gonna keep playing these basically play this pull rope game with the media. There's a reason why Kevin Durant despises the media more than anything else. You want to know why? It's because these media people who never play basketball, who don't understand the game, that don't understand the psychology or the stuff in the locker room, they try to play these kind of political games, play these political games, and try to create these false narratives, false stories for the dumb casual fans that it's keeping them from what's going on in reality. Here's a great example. And I posted one of these videos in the archives, so y'all can check this out. Did you guys remember that Nick Wright this week called Andrew Wiggins a horrible basketball player on live TV? And he basically backed it up on his Twitter page. Well, Matt Barnes came back at him and said, like, you don't know nothing about basketball. So I'm just kind of paraphrasing. He kind of said, like, for you to call a person a horrible basketball player when you never played basketball in your life, how dare you say that kind of thing? And the next time you do that, I'm going to go ahead and challenge you on your BS. That's what basically Matt Barnes said. And salute to Matt Barnes, though, too. That guy keeps it real as it gets. But my point is you have to listen to what the true narratives are instead of listening to what they have to say. Because most of the times, I'm a journalist person myself. Most of the times, they don't try to report on the truth because it basically challenges and destroys the narrative that they try to create. And it's absolutely ridiculous. Now, I tell a lot of my casual friends that watch sports all the time, quit watching debate shows. What they try to feed you, what they try to tell you is basically entirely false every single time. So when you are watching a lot of these debate shows, just watch them just for highlight reels or basically what they thought about the game. But keep this in mind. They never played the game themselves. They're only paid there to discuss about their flawed opinions. All right? And that's how you get lost in the cycle. Listen to a lot of the YouTube channels like the Ticket TVs of the world, the LVZs of the world, and others that will basically tell you what it is, and they're unapologetic to what they say. All right? That's basically, it is what it is. Now, another thing that I also want to talk about before we move on here. The other first half of the year has been great to see Carmelo Anthony come back into basketball. I mean, this guy, he still proved at the later age of his career, at 36 and 37, that he still could play basketball at a high level. All right. And for everybody that's basically saying that Carmelo Anthony should retire, that he doesn't, that he shouldn't come back to playing basketball. I don't know what y'all have been drinking or smoking, but last time I checked, Carmelo Anthony has been basically balling out this year. All right. And keeping the Blazers in the mix. The guy been averaging about 15 points per game. You understand? On basically 41% from the field and 35% from three. Okay? This guy continues time and time again that he's still one of the great scorers in NBA history and can still produce for any winning team, which also doubles down on the point why this guy should have been with the Lakers in the first place. Because I can tell you right now, the Lakers would love to have Carmelo Anthony on their team. You understand what I'm saying? The point is this: Melo is basically my comeback player of the year award, for my opinion at least, because I think he's basically, you know, sticking it to all of his critics and telling them like this is what I do throughout basically all 16 years of my career. All right, this is what I do every single game that I played. So take it or leave it. It is what it is. So let me check out the chat real quick. Mr. Tito says smash the like button. Absolutely. Smash the like button though too, guys. Appreciate it. Mr. School Artist says, hey Abil, you heard it from me first. My source told me that Anthony Davis is complaining, and if LeBron doesn't start playing defense, they're gonna lose AD. That's why he didn't sign the contract. Yep, absolutely. You beat me right to the punch. Why do you think Anthony Davis is not interested in signing a new contract deal? Because he's trying to play it out, but more importantly, he's trying to see what the Lakers will do at the end of the season to try to improve the roster. If they win the championship, maybe. But again, Anthony Davis is starting to see what playing with LeBron is like. Well, like I said before, when you play with LeBron, okay, you get little of the credit and you get the majority of the blame. And many times I've seen it. I've seen it a lot when it comes to guys like the Dwayne Wades, the Kyrie Irvings who played with LeBron James, the Chris Bosh's, and the Kevin Loves. Why do you guys think that by the time LeBron James leaves their organization that they're basically in a mess? All right, because they try to build around the stuff around LeBron James to what he wants instead of listening to actual common sense. That's just the facts of the matter. And I don't care what a lot of the LeBron James fanboys have to think. All right. LeBron James is basically a diva on the court, not off the court. All right. And don't be surprised if he doesn't sign, if Anthony Davis walks away from Los Angeles and probably goes somewhere else, maybe with the Knicks, whatever the case may be. All right. It is what it is. All right. And a side note, let's keep smashing the like button though, too, guys. So that's just my recap of the first half of the season. You understand? I think the second half of the year, we'll see how the Clippers will try to incorporate all their guys, healthy and ready to go. We'll see how the Celtics will try to, keep themselves in the championship mix. Also, we'll see who who basically will take the A spot in the West right now. You understand what I'm saying? As we basically turn the page on the second half of the year of NBA basketball. Now, with that out of the way, I want to talk about the Eddie Curry story that was released by the Players Tribune. If you guys have not seen it, I'm gonna post the story right now in the basically the link to the story in right here in the chat though too, guys, for you guys to go ahead and check it out though too real quick. Okay, there you go. Now, this is basically reflects about a story about former player Eddie Curry that came out of high school to go to the NBA. Played for the Chicago Bulls, New York Knicks, Miami Heat, Dallas Mavericks. You understand? And he was a decent player, but didn't really live up to potential expectations that people had for him when he came out of high school. Now, this is a story this is a really heartbreaking story if you really, really take the time and read it. He talks about how he lost his girlfriend and basically his child through a horrible, tragic shooting in his house in Chicago. He talked about how on January 24th, 2009, while playing for the New York Knicks, they were on the road in Philadelphia. During the middle of the game, basically in street clothes, where basically somebody told him like, "Yo, Eddie, they need you in the back. You got to go to the trainer's room." Now, he thought of at the time that it was something to do why it wasn't played. And when he basically met up with one of his friends on the phone, um, he came back to legit crying, like his eyes were all red and there were tears in his face. So he grabbed the phone, and then when the guy picked it up, he said basically his one of his friends said, "Bro, uh, your girl's dead. They killed her." And he said, I quote, "You hear these words like that, and I'm telling you, it's the first thing from funny. I'm here on the scene right now. There's blood everywhere, and I think the baby may be dead too." Now, the girlfriend and basically his 10-month-old were basically both killed in his house in Chicago. Now, the lawyer who represented Curry in the and basically the paternity lawsuit was a guy that basically orchestrated the murder and now is covering a life prison sentence. And he already filed for bankruptcy at that time. After losing, I basically had to basically foreclose his one of his mansions in Chicago too. You hear all these stories about Eddie Curry and some of the players that went through a lot of hardship after their playing days is over. It really it really opens the door and it allows you to see some of the stuff behind the scenes of what these players go through on an everyday basis. Because a lot of times we forget these players are human too. They have to make financial decisions. They have to figure out what kind of people that they can trust though too, which accountants they could basically bring in. And the sad part was that one of his accountants was basically signing loans off of Eddie Curry's name and had to pay at least $2 or $3 million worth of unpaid loans. And a lot of times athletes need to realize that you have to have people around you that you can basically are professional and can do their job. All right. And now he's married again. He's got a couple of kids, and now he's just living his life. Now, I really hope that people. I really hope that Curry can continue to move on and continue to live his life during his post playing days, to know that his career is basically was pretty much finished. But I hope that people can take the opportunity to basically stop making these kind of jokes, though, bro. I really hate it when people around the internet make these kind of jokes about their athletes though too that didn't really succeed in the NBA, because a lot of times you got to really open your eyes and really figure out what's going on with them with their lives, about why they're basically like this. And I felt that Eddie Curry just let basically open his heart and just basically told his story, and now he's basically living his life with a new family and basically a new focus on what he wants to be in his life. And I really hope that a lot of people can take the opportunity. It's a really, really well written story. But if you've not had a chance to know who Eddie Curry is, or not know what has happened to him after his career ended, it's really, really an interesting read. And really, you really need to take your time to really understand how the whole ordeal took place and how basically heartbreaking it was. Can you imagine losing your wife and losing your 10-month-old to a senseless crime? I mean, it's just that really broke my heart, man. It really, really broke my heart. So we really need to treat these athletes with much better respect and a much better understanding of what they go through on an everyday basis. 89 TV, what's going on though, bro? Salute to you, my man. Salute, salute, salute. Now, I need to get this off my chest. Now, before I do that, let me refresh my throat, really get myself going. Now, the media backlash of Kobe Bryant has been absolutely just a complete travesty. Because, listen, ever since the Gail King interview was got released, though, Gail King has been taking a lot of heat from everywhere. And basically, Snoop Dogg, basically said what he said. I'm not going to repeat what he said again. And there been people like the Susan Rice that basically told him to back the f off, and things of that sort. Now, I'm gonna say this right now for all you Kobe haters. You guys don't really understand the kind of implications that you're putting in to not just about Kobe and his family, but also to all those other people that died in that helicopter crash. Do y'all understand that their daughters were just babies when Kobe Bryant went through the sexual assault case? Okay, they don't even know what happened at that time, and now there's going to be a lot of people of their age or older that are going to basically tell them to their faces that Kobe was basically a so-called rapist or whatever. They don't really understand they don't really understand the kind of consequences and the kind of emotional pain that they're going to be put through if you keep saying these kind of things. And what the media has really done a poor job of basically what they've done a poor job is pretty much this. They tried to play this we believe the victim type of role instead of just reading down the actual facts of the matter. Because I remember the case from when it really happened. Okay. It was you thought it was crazy back. You thought it was crazy in the Me Too era. Listen, the case took place in 2003. And like I said in my last stream last Sunday, Kobe Bryant took a lot of basically heat within the NBA because listen, he should have been a 3 or 4-time NBA Most Valuable Player man award. He should have had 4 MVP awards, but they gave it to Steve Nash. Okay, they gave it to Steve Nash twice. Okay, and they basically gave the MVP to LeBron James though too, because they were trying to keep those accomplishments away from Kobe Bryant, knowing that Kobe was way better player than those guys put together at that time. So, and the truth of the matter is that Kobe Bryant has done a lot more positive than negative throughout his life. All right. Listen, Gail King, as DJ Q basically said it best, since Snoop apologized to King, she needs to go about like Kobe and his kids. Yep, I agree. I agree 100%. Gail King needs to go to the Bryant family and issue a huge apology to them. But I wouldn't blame them if they decided we don't accept your apology because you don't actually mean it. You're just doing it for publicity reasons. Okay? Because listen, we already know the reputation of what Gail King is and what Oprah Winfrey are. They're basically 2 African American women that tried to bash and try to ruin and sabotage the reputation of black men in this country. We all know this. We don't need to go for much detail in this. You guys in the chat know this. So, at the end of the day, I don't blame Snoop Dogg for just apologizing about what he said, but I do accept the tone and the purpose of what Snoop Dogg was saying. Now, he should have never made the threat to kill King in the first place. That's where he made the mistake in that account. If he would have said that I disapproved what Gayle King said and said it was wrong for him to do that, then it would not have been as a bigger deal than what it could have been. But when he made the threat, it basically threw everybody under the bus. All right. But I'm really listen, the one positive that I can really think of is that at least people are basically showing themselves to what they are. All right. We already had one principal basically in Washington State that got fired. Actually, no, she was forced to quit because of what she said about Kobe Bryant. Basically, on the day that he died, when she basically said, "Well, I guess it was karma what happened to him," and when the people saw that on social media, okay, they basically pounced on that principal and forced her to quit because the heat was just too much. All right. At the end of the day, people need to be more reasonable and more understanding about what the family and what people are going through at this moment right now. All right. It's Do you understand that there's a lot more people that have done way worse crimes than what Kobe ever did? And the fact is, he was never charged with any was never charged in the rape case. Okay, because remember, the woman was going to bring in some witnesses, but what turned out to be was that the witnesses were basically having sexual intercourse with that woman basically before and after Kobe Bryant. And when that happened, the whole case was basically thrown out the window because they proved that the woman was actually lying and trying to scam everybody. All right. Why do you think we have not heard her do any interviews or give any accounts of what she claimed what happened that day? Now, like I said, do I agree that Kobe Bryant was made the mistake of committing adultery? Yes. Did he cheat on his wife? Absolutely. Did he commit rape? No, he did not. And the court proved that he never committed the crime. So why is it that we have to keep bringing this up that he actually did the crime when it was proven that he never did? It's absolutely ridiculous, and I sometimes just scratch my head to think that our job is the job of journalism is to report the truth and report the facts and not bring up old stuff to sully and ruin the reputation of any athlete, especially on a dead athlete. All right, whatever it is, what it is. 89 TV said basically Oprah and King defended their masters 100. I'm not working for no system, but where's it gone for us? You're right. It's gone nowhere for us. And I will never ever cape for those two women ever on this channel. They're basically ancient mamas to the day they die. And even when they get betrayed by their so-called white bosses, at the end of the day, when they get betrayed and get exposed to what they were, there's nobody in the black community that's going to feel sorry for them. I'm not. Sorry. William Scoop Arnett says, baby, I remember a long time ago when the news media was trustworthy. Now you can't trust anyone in the news industry. I know, man. I agree. He said, I remember when my father would come home and turn on the news. I used to do the same thing, but not anymore. Me too. Me too. I'm a journalism guy, journalism major, so I had to keep up what's going on in the news. But I'm in agreement with you. I just basically lean more to independent media these days than the actual mainstream media, because what's going on is mainstream media tries to feed you an agenda and feed you an angle that's basically untrue. I have not looked at any of the political channels about the Democratic primary, because I know they're trying to push Buttigieg and Joe Biden in our faces, and I know that's basically entirely false, because Bernie Sanders is kicking everybody's behind basically in the primary. It's only a matter of time before he wins the nomination. It is what it is. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna close it down by saying this: journalism is a tool that we use to uncover the truth and be as accurate as possible. And for people to take the opportunity to try to create false narratives and stories to create ratings shows how heartless and shows how ruthless the industry can be. And I don't blame I don't blame the family of Kobe Bryant if they decided to sue the networks for libel and defamation of character. Now, if Kobe were alive, it would be very, very easy to basically prove the point. Okay, but since he's dead, it's going to be maybe a little bit harder to prove libel and to prove defamation of character, even though it's still possible to win. But at the end of the day, those two women knew what they were doing, and they did the same thing to Michael Jackson, and they tried to do the same thing to Russell Simmons, and it blew up in their faces, and it made them look like complete jackasses. And that is what it is. It is what it is. Now, I wanted to discuss about the NCAA, basically NCAA basketball, because we're entering into March Madness now, guys, in the next month though too. So I wanted to switch up the conversation just a little bit, and then we're going to talk about, the Hall of Fame finalists, though, too. Now, I've been keeping up with a little bit of college basketball, but in the past month or so. Now, I will tell you this, though, too. It's been a really wide open year of NBA basketball. You understand what I'm saying? But before I do it, let me check out the chat. Winscoon Artist said, and you're right, though, bro. A9 TV says, I changed my major. I thought about journalism, but I'd rather do that for my own company instead of working for some white man. I can't blame you for that. I cannot blame you for feeling that way. I feel the same way myself. Okay? He said, and old school artist says, I love my LSU Tigers. Okay. Salute to that. You're basically from Louisiana. So, hey, remember the name Lester Earl, Williams School Artist? If you remember the name Lester Earl, go ahead and put something on the chat though too. I'm sure it's gonna give a lot of bad memories about Lester Earl and Dale Brown. But I digress. So we're about a month away from Selection Sunday to basically decide the 64 to 65 teams that will basically make up the entire NCAA tournament. Now, I'll tell you this though too. There's certainly a lot of teams that I have my eyes on that could possibly make a run for the championship, okay, or making it to the Final Four in Atlanta. Now, let me put it like this. I think one of my teams that I'm having my eye on is basically Baylor. Now, I'll tell you still too about Baylor, okay? They've basically been the hottest team, you know, in the entire country because they've won 21 straight, okay, and they basically kind of stabilized itself as a top team in the country. But the one thing that I've seen from Baylor that I really really enjoyed about them this year is this. He said sounds familiar. He was basically the guy that basically snitched on the NCAA about some of the stuff Dale Brown was quote unquote doing, which forced him to which forced Dale Brown to resign as coach of the LSU Tigers. Go research the name Lester Earl. You'll be very very disgusted about some of the things that the NCAA was doing to that kid. Um, I'll put it like this though. The Baylor team though too, they're basically one of the best defensive teams in the nation because what they do, they play zone defenses, they do a great job switching, you understand, and they make you work for every single possession, all right, throughout the entire game clock and shot clock. All right. Now, they really did a great job of shutting down Kansas a couple of weeks ago because they basically knew how to control Kansas, in terms of their lineup and in terms of controlling their guard play. Now, there's one guy on that Baylor team that I've been really been basically keeping my eyes on. It's that Pritchard, point guard for Baylor. I'm telling you, that guy is one of the best clutch players that I've ever seen. All right. You mean this guy, when it comes down to the big moment, he always steps up and makes big shots. All right. And when you combine the fact that you got guys like a 6'5" junior Mark Vital, who's one of the best defenders in the nation, despite being undersized at 6'5", and then basically with the trio of transfers called Mikael T, Davion Mitchell, and Freddie Gibson to complete their starting lineup. You understand? Listen, they're basically one of the best defensive teams in the nation. All right. Now, the big concern is going to be how they're going to produce on their offensive end because they're ranked 257th in the nation in terms of 2-point range, which is basically 29%. All right. So we'll see how that team is going to get this up together on the offensive end. But when it comes to their defense, they're basically legit. Now, another team that you also got to keep an eye on, though, too. The last undefeated team in the nation is basically San Diego State, 25-0 and 14-0 in the Mountain West Conference. So, but the problem with that conference is that there not been many non-dominant conferences that have won the national championship, and the last Mountain West Conference to win the national championship was UNLV back in 1990. Y'all know who that team was. He said, "Peace out, bro. I'm gonna kill my porterhouse that I just finished cooking." All right, my man. Thank you for coming in, though, Woody School Arnett. I love it, though, too, my brother. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for all the support, though, man. May God bless you, bro. Now, let me put it like this, though, bro. Basically, this is a really, really good offensive team because they can shoot the ball. All right, basically defend on the interior, though, too, and they're very, very experienced. Now, their title hopes may hinge on the return of their 6'10" center named Nathan Mensah, who's basically their best interior defender who could basically block shots and clog up the paint. You know what I mean? So, but he's basically been going through a respiratory issue and he's pretty much missed the entire majority of the year. But if they get a number one seed in basically in the tournament, okay, this could be a good opportunity for them to basically make a good run for the tournament. So I really like how San Diego State plays offense too. They're a good high percentage shooting team and they're very sound in terms of their interior defense. But if they get their other starters together, including their 6'10" center back in healthy, all right, there could be a team that you got to be watching for to come tournament time. I'm just telling you. Mr. Tito says, yes, sir. Peace. Yeah, man. Peace, man. Much love, man. Much love. A9 TV says, I haven't seen the Mountain West Conference since that Boise State team football back then. Oh, yeah, that Boise State football team. Oh, yeah, that was a great team. Love it, love it, love it. Now, one team that it's kind of, you know, that's been kind of just under the radar there too as well. Basically, the Dayton Flyers. Now, it's been kind of an up and down hill for them because they played at a non-dominant, non-conference power like the Atlantic 10, but like Gonzaga too. And I don't listen. I don't like Gonzaga because I feel like Gonzaga's a bit overrated though too for me because even though they made one run to the national championship in 2016, they have. I just feel like Gonzaga plays in a very weak conference, and not many teams can really challenge them though too most times, but they always flame out in the NCAA tournament. So don't trust Gonzaga. Now they basically they make this Dayton team is a very high scoring team though. That's basically surrounded by Obi Toppin, who's basically Robert, who's a candidate for National Player of the Year, and with shooters around the floor there too. All right, they basically lead the nation in basically shots inside the arc, and they're very good 3-point shooting team. But their calling card is defense. Okay, now their defense is going to have to really step up a little notch, though, if they're going to make a run for the championship, for a possible run to the Final Four. But if they could basically lean on the shoulders of their top player, and also would continue their hot shooting, though, too, keep an eye on the Dayton Flyers, though, too, guys. You understand what I'm saying? You know what I mean? 89 TV says, how's that Cassius Winston kid from Michigan State? Uh, I've seen a lot of Big Ten basketball from Cassius Winston. He's a really good player that knows how to play the point guard position, but he's not an explosive athlete, and he's not really a good consistent shooter. But I will say he makes big shots in big moments, and you need that out of a point guard. But I think that he was better off, going to the draft last season. You know what I mean? And I think his stock this year maybe dropped off a significant bit. And I'll tell you those though too. You know, Michigan State was one of my favorites heading into the season to come out and win the national championship. But unfortunately, that's not been the case. All right. They just try to find they basically have been trying they've been struggling all year because they tried to find out who would be their third consistent scorer. All right. Because when you go through Winston, when you go through Xavier Tillman, all right, they just don't have another guy that you could lean on to get some points. And when you don't have another third guy to take the pressure off your two main scorers, it's going to be tough for them. And they have this freshman point guard, Rocket Watts, who can basically show some brilliance. But again, he's a freshman, so he needs time to groom. But there are many times though too that Michigan State they just been disappointing this year. They don't compete at a high level defensively. And like I said, if you don't have a third guy that can take pressure off of the two scores, it's going to be really, really tough for them. And a lot of defenses can key in on the two guys, okay, and make the other guys beat them. I just don't see Michigan State, making a deep run in the tournament. I really don't. I really don't. Mr. Tiptoe says, I'll be back though, fam. All right, no problem though, man. No problem whatsoever. We're now coming down to the home stretch of the show. So yeah, those are the kind of the teams that I'm kind of looking forward to in this year's tournament, though, too, guys. But I'll make sure to give you more of my predictions about about my brackets and basically some of the matchups we'll kind of see there too. There's gonna be some really, really interesting matchups too. So keep an eye on that, guys. Now, we're now going down to the final subject of the day. And we're going to discuss about the Hall of Fame finalists, though, too. Now, if you guys watched my previous video that I did earlier today, okay, now I basically announced to you guys the finalists at the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame, kind of just announced the top finalists, okay? Now, the three obvious guys are Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, and Kevin Garnett. Now, the really, really sad part is that we won't be able to hear Kobe Bryant speak his Hall of Fame induction. So, there's several people that I thought in mind that could possibly speak on it. There's been guys in my comment section on that previous video I did with the Kobe jersey that said that, you know, Kobe's older daughter could be a great candidate though too. I do agree with that. I think she would be great. I've had one person say Michael Jordan, but I don't know. Michael Jordan, his speeches can be very, very sketchy. I really didn't like, his speech when he got inducted in 2009, even though it was kind of comical. I thought it was just more of a way of just throwing barbs and cheap shots at people, and really was not a well done type of speech, though, too, that really didn't have a lot of direction to it. So I don't know about that. So I think maybe one of Kobe's daughters, and then you know what? Jerry West could be a really, really great candidate too, because he was the guy who drafted Kobe and saw him and scouted him when he was in high school. But the best one that I think, in my opinion, would really, really steal the house is if Vanessa Bryant decides to speak on stage about her husband. Oh man, if she decides to step up and speak on that stage on Hall of Fame night, it would be like the Jimmy Valvano speech back in 1993, but even better. And I think, in my opinion, at least, it would just be a memorable moment to honor one of the great players in the game. Now, there are obviously some good names in that finalist list, though, too. Now, again, the announcement of the Hall of Fame class will not be decided until April 4th, which is basically during the national semifinals in Atlanta, Georgia, for the Final Four. The other names also include Robert Stevens, who's basically fourth all time in Division II in career wins as a coach. Okay, and then you also got Tamika Catchings, who I had a privilege and honor of playing with at the 2015 Unified Basketball Game for Special Olympics in Madison Square Garden. Very, very, very nice lady, and basically one of the best forwards in basically women's basketball. You understand what I'm saying? And played all 15 years with Indiana. Okay, she played all 15 years with Indiana. Won the title in 2012. 10-time All-Star, 7-time WNBA All-First Team, 5-time Defensive Player of the Year. All right, 10-time First Team All-Defense for WNBA, 7 times career steals leader. I mean, if you want me to keep going, all-time leader is all-time scoring leader, all-time rebounder, all-time steals leader. Okay, and she won a national championship with Tennessee in 1998. I mean, this woman, I mean, she's pretty much done it all. All right, and I was very, very blessed to play with her and have the time to really talk with this woman. She's a very, very nice, sweet lady, and we had a really great time just getting to know each other. And I really salute her for that. Now, the other names also included on the list, though, too, that I really, really had a problem with. Okay, now here's the other name. Here's the other Hall of Fame finalists there too. You also got Kim Milkey, Eddie Sutton, and Rudy Tomjanovich. Now, Rudy Tomjanovich, I don't have a problem with, because I felt that Rudy Tomjanovich should have been in the Hall of Fame in the first place. And as you guys already know, Rudy Tomjanovich was the head coach of the Houston Rockets during the 90s up until 2003. Okay, and he led the Rockets to back-to-back championships in the mid 90s. Now, most older fans will tell you that he was the guy. He was basically the guy who got punched in the face by Kermit Washington of the Los Angeles Lakers in 1977. I mean, if you just watch the footage of that punch, I mean, Kermit Washington did not held back. He just threw him a straight right hand that basically shattered his face. All right, it shattered his face, his nose, his eyes, and he also recalled that he tasted finals fluid in his mouth, though, too. You understand? And blood was spilling all over the floor of the Great Western Forum, and it was basically shortened his career at that point. He was a 5-time All-Star and retired his number with the Houston Rockets. But he after that he retired from basketball. He became a scout for 2 years, became an assistant head coach in 1983 under Phil Bidge and Don Chaney, until he was given the head coaching job of February 92. I think his greatest accomplishment for me, in my opinion, is through the development of Akeem Olajuwon, making him more of a complete basketball player. Where when the ball threw into Olajuwon, he didn't just wait. He didn't just settle on scoring. He basically learned how to pass out of double teams, which in results made him a better player. And they utilized the 3-point shot to a great weapon, which was one of the reasons why they won their back-to-back championships. So, and also he won a gold medal as coach of the USA team in 2000, though too. The same USA basketball team where you remember the 7-foot dunk Vince Carter pulled off there too in Sydney, Australia. You understand? It was really, really a great moment. A9 TV says, I have a feeling that Shaq is going to be on stage for Kobe's speech. I don't know. I think it would be too much emotion for Shaq to deal with, though, too, because, you know, he looked at the Kobe as more than just a teammate. He looked at him as a brother. So I don't know. I think it would be too much for Shaq to deal with, but it would. But I would love for him to do that though too, if he's had the courage to do it. So, so that's another name I don't have a problem with. Now, the other name I do have a problem with is Kim Milkey of uh, Baylor University and Eddie Sutton, who basically was a former college coach. Now, on Eddie Sutton though too, Eddie Sutton is a bit of a controversial pick for me because you have to also remember his time in Kentucky. For a lot of old school fans that don't know, I'll just say for all new school fans, for all the whole heads, they probably know this already. Eddie Sutton coached Kentucky for 4 years, and he was basically let go in the midst of basically an academic fraud investigation involving the Kentucky basketball program, where former player Eric Manuel basically cheated on his SAT test because as the story goes, Eric Manuel took one of the tests and he had somebody sitting next to him with an open arm showing up all the answers on one hand and on the other, and basically Eric Manuel, all he had to do was look over the shoulder and copied up all the answers. So as a result of that scandal that took place, he was basically forced to resign from coach of the Kentucky Wildcats. And the bottom line is, he even though he wasn't implicated in what he did, at the same time though too, he knew about what was going on and didn't cooperate with NCAA investigators of an academic fraud. Okay, and when they found out all that stuff that went down, the NCAA almost hit them with the death penalty, which basically meant no basketball for 3 years. But eventually they didn't do that, so they basically put them on probation for at least 3 years. No tournament play for 3 years. They basically was eliminated from television for the 89-90 season. Okay, and deducted several scholarships. So that was a little bit of a controversial opinion in my estimation. He coached Oklahoma State University to basically two trips to the Final Four in '95 and 2004. He basically, he was one of those coaches that did okay for what he did, but I think that there's been a lot of coaches that deserve much more better than that. Now, I'm going to get into the Kim Milkey discussion there right here and now. All right. 89 TV says, I watched a documentary of John Williams. He played for the Bulls and basically ate himself out of the league. Oh, yeah, about that guy. Yeah, I heard about him, though, too. Yeah, bro. I mean, he just couldn't stay himself out of shape, and he just kept getting himself overweight. I remember that. I did see that documentary, too. Very, very interesting. Now, before I forget, let me get into what was going on with Kim Milkey here. Okay. Y'all hold on one second. Okay, guys, I'm back. Sorry about that. Okay. Now, what was I again? Oh, yes. Now, The other candidate that I also saw that's basically being that also got a huge induct that he basically got is now one of the finalists in the Hall of Fame though too. Um, Tim Milky is basically one of the finalists in the Hall of Fame. Now, if you guys already know, Kim Milky is currently the coach of Baylor University. Okay, now I have a major issue with this name because if you guys already know, Baylor was going through a lot of stuff that's going on when it comes to their athletic program. Most notably when it comes to basketball and their football programs, when it comes to handling sexual assault and sexual misconduct allegations and things of that sort. Now, you have to reflect back to what she said back in 2017, and I'm gonna go ahead and pull up this article right now that I basically researched though too before tonight's live stream, where she basically lashed out to all of her critics about basically the program when she won her 500 game as the coach of basically a Baylor. She said, if somebody is around you and they say that I will never send my daughter to Baylor University, you knock them right in the face. All right. And that was basically an insensitive comment in of itself. But I really don't understand why this is not being into consideration. And hear me out on this, okay? And when Brittany Griner was basically playing through Baylor University, she openly admitted that she was gay. And Kim Milky, you know what she tried to do? She tried to keep it as a secret. They try to do her best to keep this stuff under the rug. And as a result of that, you know, Brittany Griner has a very bad taste in her mouth when it comes to Kim Milky and her way that she ran the program though too. All right. And the fact of the matter is, Baylor has been notorious when it comes to, rape, when it comes to, filing police reports and things of that sort. And everybody in that school was guilty of that cover up. And this is supposed to be a Christian ran school. So for her to feel like she had to defend her school off of that and basically to try to hide, Brittany Griner's sexuality though too while she was playing there at Baylor as well really threw a bad taste in my mouth. And I'm like, did you really have to vote to put this person in the Hall of Fame instead of Tim Hardaway Senior? Okay, there are a lot of guys that were basically left off of that Hall of Fame finalist list that I really shook my head. Chris Bosh, one of them. Okay, this guy, listen, Chris Bosh, it was 11-time All-Star and a two-time NBA champion. Okay, listen, when he was in Toronto, he was arguably their best player from 2006 to 2010. This guy averaged about around 22 and a half points per game and averaged about 9.9 rebounds per game when he was Toronto's main star. Listen, there was a period of time where Chris Bosh was one of the best players in the game, one of the best power forwards in the game. Okay, and when he took his talent to South Beach though too, he sacrificed his individual stats in the pursuit of a championship. Okay, Chris Bosh did a lot more sacrifice than people realize, but they don't recognize it because they saw his production go down. But unfortunately, when you play against two mega stars like LeBron James and Dwayne Wade, it's bound to happen. Okay, now unfortunately, he was forced to retire. He was forced to retirement after 2016 when he suffered blood clots in his leg. And so I hope that, by next year or the next couple of years, that the Hall of Fame voters would really, really take into consideration um, about Chris Bosh's career and what he meant to basketball. Chris Webber, listen, Chris Webber, wherever he went, his teams always won, and they were successful. When he was in Michigan, he was their star player that led them to two straight appearances in the national championship game. When he was with the Warriors, he won Rookie of the Year and led them to the playoffs. When he got traded to the Washington Bullets, he led them to the playoffs, led them to a winning environment. But his greatest achievements of his career when he was with the Sacramento Kings, okay? This guy was playing like an MVP candidate. And if he did tear his knee in 2003, I think he would have won his first championship with the Sacramento Kings. But he led them to the Western Conference Finals in 2002 and was playing the best basketball of his career. All right. And for this guy to get rejected by the Hall of Fame again really, really shows much more of the double standards that we're seeing in the Basketball Hall of Fame. Now, Tim Hardaway Sr. has been the one name for me that really, really, really bothers me. All right. Because the thing about Tim Hardaway Sr. is this Tim Hardaway Sr. has waited over a decade for his name to be in the Hall of Fame. This is a guy that revolutionized the crossover dribble. Okay. Tim Hardaway Sr. has been disrespected for many, many years. And the only reason why he's serving this punishment is because he said some infamous comments about gay people in a Dan Elbatard interview back in 2007. Okay, when John Amici, the former NBA player, confessed that he was a homosexual. Okay, and so because of that, people are so unforgiving of this guy. But he learned his lesson. He made his amends, and he's done whatever he can. He's basically been one of those people that has been advocating for LGBT rights and things of that sort. But you mean to tell me that this guy does not belong in your Hall of Fame? Really? Are you kidding me? I have been one of those people that has been vouching for Tim Hardaway's name in the Hall of Fame for the last 6 to 8 years. And it's completely disrespectful that this guy, listen, you already basically put in Chris Mullin and Mitch Richmond in the Hall of Fame. So why is it so difficult to put Tim Hardaway in the Hall of Fame? He served his punishment, and he's made amends for what he said from those comments. But people are so unforgiving that you already made Kim Milkey a finalist. Really? That's absolutely ridiculous. 89 TV said Baylor won the championship because of Brittany Griner, but who knows what happened behind those closed doors in Oklahoma, right? Of course. Listen, all them schools are dirty. Listen, the NCAA, the one thing they care about is just their bottom line. That's all there is. They don't care about sexual assault, sexual misconduct, because it doesn't benefit them. If it doesn't make money for them, they're not gonna trip about it. That is what it is. You saw that with Penn State, and you saw that with Michigan State. That's just the bottom line. That's all there is to it. A9 TV says Chris Bosh never averaged less than 20 points per game in his years in Toronto. Absolutely. And you're telling me that this guy does not belong in the Hall of Fame? Really? I just find that to be problem with. And another name that he also mentioned, that A9 TV also mentioned, Ben Wallace. Listen, if Dennis Rodman got into the Hall of Fame despite his lack of offensive production and what he did on the defensive side of the ball and rebounding, why not Ben Wallace? All right, an undersized 6'9" center who blocked shots like a machine. He was basically a mini-sized version of Bill Russell. Okay, if you watch one of Ben Wallace's games, this guy was a lockdown defender and one of the best weak side defenders in the game. And this guy will block your shots all the way to the nosebleeds. I am not joking. Okay, that guy was the defensive anchor when the Detroit Pistons won the title in the 03-04 season. Okay, without Ben Wallace, there is no championship, and you can put that to the bank. And for him not to get into the Hall of Fame too is also a crime. There's so many names right now. Bosh, Weber, Tim Hardaway. Also another guy, Walter Davis, though too. He's not also in the Hall of Fame though too. And then you got Ben Wallace there too. Listen, I don't have much of an issue other than the Kim Milkey comments. I should say, other than the Kim Milkey, finalist name, I don't have much of a problem with this list. But they really need to do a better job of setting up a criteria for what makes you a Hall of Famer. Is it among the accomplishments or what you've done in your career that warrants the accomplishments that you have achieved in your time in basketball? And unfortunately, we're going to see a lot more names that's going to leave you shaking your head. All right. The same goes for football and the same goes for baseball. I mean, it is what it is. But congratulations to all the finalists that have made it so far. But the full list of the Hall of Fame will not be announced again until April 4th during Final Four weekend. So we'll see who finally gets into the Hall of Fame. But I can tell you one thing. KG, Tim Duncan and Kobe Bryant are going to be basically guaranteed locks. The other names, actually, Tamika Catchings is going to be a guaranteed lock too, to make sure to keep that in mind. So 4 of those names are going to be guaranteed locks, but the other 4, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. If Kim Mulkey gets in the Hall of Fame, I'm going to pitch a fit. Really, I'm serious. I'm not playing around. I just feel that, listen, she's an accomplished coach. I agree with that. But at the same time, the stuff that she says behind the scenes is really degrading and really, really disrespectful, and it needs to be really considered in the nomination. Okay, that's how I feel about the whole thing. A9 TV says big men put Shaq's ass on the floor. How many people can do that? Right. And how many people can defend Shaq one-on-one without fouling, without bringing weak side help? Ben Wallace was the greatest at that. All right. Without that, again, Detroit does not win their only championship. Listen, if you want to talk about a team that doesn't have a true legitimate superstar on their team that went on to win the championship based on defense, rebounding, and team play, go look at the 03-04 Pistons. They are the greatest example of that. You understand? They were a great, great example of basically all 5 guys playing together as a team, with a chip on their shoulder, and they became one of the best defensive groups during that period, where they basically shut teams down. And they frustrated the star-studded Lakers in 5 games. They frustrated the hell out of them because they basically played defense 94 feet, and they weren't ready for that. And they forced Shaq to the top of the key where he basically can't catch the ball in the paint. And it basically made him less of an offensive threat. And they couldn't stop the guard play between Richard Hamilton and Chauncey Billups, though, too. So remember the Game 7 against Indiana? Actually, I remember the game. What's it? The game 2. I remember the chase down block of Tayshaun Prince on Reggie Miller. That was one of the greatest chase down blocks I've ever seen, because listen, Tayshaun Prince really ran from the other side of the court. He had to literally make a full sprint to get to Reggie Miller to block that shot. Now, you can't blame Reggie Miller for going for the layup because he didn't know that Tayshaun Prince was behind him. And when Tayshaun Prince made that block shot, I immediately jumped out of my seat, and I was like, whoa, are you serious? You know what I mean? That was just one of the most amazing chase down blocks, other than the LeBron James chase down block of Andre Iguodala in Game 7 of the 2016 NBA Finals. But yeah, that was one of the greatest blocks I've ever seen in my life. But yeah, it was a really, really fun episode, though, too, guys. So, it's now wraps up episode 17 of Basketball Conversations, though, too, guys. So we're gonna enjoy all the All-Star festivities, though, too. We got the 3-point shootout, the skills challenge, slam dunk contest, and then we're gonna have the NBA All-Star game in Chicago, Illinois. So we're gonna have a lot of fun, and hopefully that the NBA is treats us very well with some very good entertainment, though, too, guys. So it is what it is, though, guys. But it's going to be time for me to shut down this episode, too, guys. But I want to thank all the people in the chat, for all their continuous support. Make sure to smash the like button on the way out, too, guys. It's really, really been appreciative, guys. You guys have been holding that down. And thank you, Mr. Adrian Barbie, for subscribing to my channel, though, too. Really, really appreciative, though, too, my man. So, with that being said, this is Abil Mehari, represent MehariNation Sports Podcast and episode 17 of Basketball Conversations. Salute to the entire LDBC and the basketball community. And I'll see you next Friday for episode 18. We're 2 episodes away from episode 20 of Basketball Conversation. Continue to spread the word about the channel, and let's continue to keep on growing. Have a good night, you guys.